Thank you. We have a packed house. We do have some more seats up here, so I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable if you are standing, if you want to move it in while I'm talking. But excited to talk to you. I've got about 30 minutes with you all, and then want to open it up for some Q&A as well. But kudos to you all for even showing up here today. I think, you all are curious, you're learners, you want to learn more, you want to grow your network, you want to continue to grow. And so you all did your job, you got here, check. Hopefully I can do my job and keep you engaged here for the next 30 minutes. But I want to take some time and first let you know about my current role and what I do for the Titans, because it's really fun. It's a lot of work, but a lot of fun at the same time. And then back you up and tell you how I got here. And so how I got into the role I was, and maybe some life lessons that I would have told myself when I was in your shoes. Because I remember being in your shoes, attending College of Business events like this, and I always got a lot out of them. So currently in my role, thank you for the introduction, I have been with the club actually 4 years, but in sports you get to go by season, so I get to round up. So I'm entering my 5th season with the club, and in my role I support both our finance team and our people and culture team. People and culture is our HR function. So on the finance side, I manage a team of 9 people, and we do all things cash. Clearly, I'm like, that makes sense that I'm the CFO and I manage the finance team. Any cash coming in, any cash going out. So all of our ticket sales and sponsorships and concessions, merchandise, anything from a football game that we bring revenue in, I handle. Also, we do the stadium events though, too. So it's not just football, it's also the concerts or the dirt shows, things that we bring in. And then how we spend money, how we pay our players, how we pay our vendors, how we allocate our budgets and things like that. So everything on the finance side that has to deal with cash runs through me. And what's fun is I get to work with every department in the organization. I think that's what's really neat about finance. I know all of you are business majors. Do we have accounting majors in the room? Raise your hand if you're accounting. That's what I did. I majored in accounting. And I think what's neat about that is I have a full picture view of the company. I know how every single department spends money. I know how every department makes money. And I get to work with the football side, the business side, the stadium side, and actually we have another entity now, our new stadium sellers, that we're clearly, if you haven't heard, we're building a new stadium. And so I get to work with, on the football side, the coaches and the scouts and the trainers and the equipment staff. How can finance help support them to make the right decisions? Same with on the business side, whether that's our ticket office or marketing, community teams, partnerships teams, all of that runs through that finance lens. And I think that's what's really neat about finance, is I have a broad view of the organization. Now, usually a finance team rolls up to the CFO. It's a little rare for an HR department to roll up through a CFO. In my eyes, though, I actually see them as one and the same. When you have engaged employees, that brings a lot of revenue. That's that ROI. So on the employee side, on the people and culture side, I work with employee engagement, employee development, recruiting, onboarding. How can we recruit the best talent? And then when they get into our building, how can we engage them? How can we develop them? How can we make sure that they're passionate brand ambassadors of us as well? And so I love that coaching side of the what I get to do. And I think that when you have those motivated employees, they're going to help drive your bottom line. They're going to help drive up your revenue and manage your expense as well. And so to me, those two go hand in hand. That's a little unique for a CFO role. But really, that's what I do right now. I want to back you up and tell you how I got to where I am today. And again, some life lessons of what really got me here. I want to hit on 3 things that I'll come back to as I talk. But one is mentors, making sure kind of your mentors that you have along the way. The other would be diversifying your portfolio, or really your resume, diversifying that. And then networking, the power of networking. Those 3 things, they helped me at all stages of my career. And so about me, I'm originally from Michigan. I grew up in Portage, Michigan, which is southwest Michigan, outside of Kalamazoo. And growing up, my parents were not in business at all. Both of my parents were coaches. They were high school coaches. My dad was a high school teacher and a high school football coach. And my mom was a tennis coach. She coached tennis lessons and tennis camps. And so it's unique that neither of them had a business or finance mindset. But what they taught me from a young age are the things that talent it doesn't take talent, attitude and effort. Hard work and having a great attitude and working really hard. So attitude and effort from a very young age, those are the things that they instilled in me, and that carried through. Everything else from a technical skills, I ended up figuring out on my own. But in high school, I had a mentor, which was a teacher. And so that teacher realized that I really liked numbers, I really liked math, and that teacher introduced me to accounting. I had no idea what accounting was. I had no idea what finance was. And I ended up taking an accounting course my senior year in high school because they offered it as an elective, and I really liked it. What I loved about it was the numbers, the math, the problem solving, having to figure out a problem, and there's some gray area to it, but there's also some black and white. And so I ended up majoring in accounting when I went to school at Western Kentucky. And what I want to start with, when I got to Western Kentucky, I did play softball there, and the importance of finding mentors even when you're at your age, and the different types of mentors that you can find. So I think you probably always heard that buzzword of go find a mentor, and you're like, how do I find a mentor? Where do I even start? I think of mentors in 3 circles. First, those peer mentors. So if you're in your business school, who are the people in your classroom? Who are those folks that you know they're probably going to be rising stars someday? You admire them. They work hard, they ask questions, they're good people. Find those people and start to connect with them, because you never know 10, 20 years from now, those might be the CFOs of the company someday. So finding mentors that are your peers, then finding mentors that maybe are 2 years ahead of you. So if you're an underclassman, maybe that's a senior. If you are a senior, maybe that's somebody that is 2 years into their career. Somebody that they were most recently in your shoes, and you can learn from them. You can learn, they can tell you what they wish they would have done differently, and you can, ask some of those dumb questions to them if you feel like that, because they were most recently in your shoes. And then you find those mentors that maybe are more senior in their profession. So to you, that could be your teachers, that could be your professors, building relationships with them. That could be a coach, that could be a family friend that you know that is in an industry that you want to get into. So don't be afraid, even at your age, finding those mentors, but finding them and being very strategic at different circles. Those, you never know when they could pay dividends in the long term. The other thing about diversifying your portfolio or diversifying your resume, when I was in school, I played softball, so I couldn't do a whole lot more. It was softball and it was school, but I still wanted to find a little more ways that if there was a time in the summer that I could do an internship, or there was a committee that I could form. For instance, the committee that just got up here, the Women in Business. Any way that you can build that resume to show your future employer you've rounded some of those skill sets. When I go to hire, I'm not hiring just for the 4.0 that only did school. I would much rather somebody with a lesser GPA that maybe they worked a part-time job, maybe they were an athlete, maybe they had other extracurriculars. So starting at this age to build that resume is huge, because I think that those skills are going to continue to sharpen when you get to the real world. And then networking, the power of networking and building relationships. So attending events like this, like I said to you all, kudos for coming to this. Staying after, meeting me, connecting with me on LinkedIn, connecting with other leaders that get brought in, connecting with your professors. So those networking relationships, I'll tell you how that ended up landing me my job where I'm at now. So those are kind of those 3 circles of what I would do when I was in your shoes. But when I graduated, I started at EY, which is public accounting. And I worked in Nashville in public accounting, and I was an auditor. So I would go into companies and I would learn how those companies worked. And in audit, going into kind of what they call public accounting, I worked in a lot of different industries. So although I worked at EY for 10 years, I got to work on healthcare clients. I got to work on media and entertainment and oil and gas and all different industries. And I would go into these businesses and I would understand what worked well for them and what didn't. I would take those experiences along the way. And although I worked at EY for 10 years, I got to diversify that portfolio. I got to show different experiences and different life events along the way that I made. And the mentors again. When I was at EY, finding mentors, I started with a start class of about 20. It really is interesting. A lot of those, some of them have chosen different careers, but some of those are CFOs that now flash fast forward 15, 20 years later, I can call on them. And so finding those circles of people and those circles of mentors along the way, I think really goes far, even when I was at my time at EY. So when I was at EY, most of my jobs were healthcare clients. Being in Nashville, healthcare is a predominant industry, but it just so happened the Titans were one of my audit clients. And so when I was 5 years into my time at EY, I was asked to be on the RFP, and RFP is a request for proposal. The Titans, they were switching auditors, and we got to, as EY, we got to go pitch our services to them. So I was on that RFP, and EY ended up winning that audit. And I had never worked in sports before. Clearly, you could see I grew up playing sports. I grew up playing softball in college, but never worked in sports before. So I had been with EY about 5 years at that point, and then I joined the audit team for the Titans and building those relationships. So what ended up happening was I was on the audit side. On the audit side, you get to understand the business a lot. You understand, again, how they make money, how they spend money. And the general counsel at the time for the Titans, I just built a relationship with. I knew that he had kids. I was always very personable. I just wanted to be a helper to him. A lot of times you see auditors as, I'm out to get you, I'm here to catch your errors. I was the auditor that I wanted to build the relationship with my clients because I knew when I had a great relationship with them, they were far more apt to be nice to me back. A lot of times you're not as nice to your auditors. And so I spent a lot of time building those relationships. That general counsel, fast forward, is now the CEO of the Titans. And so in his role as CEO of the Titans, he joined in May of 2020. So if you think about the pandemic and the craziness that he jumped into, when he joined, he was the general counsel. When he became CEO, he just took a whole different, fresh look at the business. And there was an opening he wanted to, became an opening at the CFO role, and he reached out to me. And at this point, I was a senior manager at EY in audit, and I thought, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my career, and I was just going to continue to climb that ladder at EY. And he reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in interviewing. And I was terrified. I was like, me? I am not ready for this. What are you talking about? I've never done this before. But he saw something in me because of that relationship that I had built with him. And so he asked me to interview, and I ended up interviewing with the team and put my name in the hat, and I ended up getting the job. And so that right there, the power of building those relationships along the way, I had a lot of different clients with my time at EY, a lot of times that I was building those relationships, and you never knew what was going to come out of it. You're kind of planting oak trees along the way, and that is ended up how I ended up landing the job for the Titans. And so didn't come up in sports. I know a lot of folks that they work their way up through sports. I think it actually really helped me that I had that diversified portfolio. I had worked on a lot of different industries. I had a lot of different knowledge. I didn't know how an NFL team operated. But the skills that I made while I was working on all the clients at EY, I knew how to communicate, I knew how to problem solve, I knew how to ask questions, I knew how to raise my hand. Those are the universal skills. Those are those soft skills that I tell you that we look for when we're trying to hire. The technical stuff, he knew that I had never been a CFO of an NFL team, but he knew that I had those soft skills, and he knew that I had built those relationships with him, and he knew that I cared and he could trust me. And so I joined with the team in, March of 2021, and now I have been with the team here going on my 5th season. So it's been a really crazy journey, been a really crazy ride. We've done a lot of things. If you've seen in the news, we're building a brand new stadium. That was one of my first projects that I got thrown into. And again, didn't know what I was doing. I had never done a large debt financing. I had never built a brand new stadium before. I had never done any of these things. But what you realize is when you're in your seat, you think that the CFO has it all figured out. And then when you get to my seat, you realize I still don't have it all figured out. I know how to ask questions, though. I know how to ask questions. I'm not afraid to, let people know when I don't know something. I'm going to call another CFO of another NFL team. I'm going to call the league office CFO. I'm going to call those other folks that I built those relationships with along the way, my peer mentors a long, long time ago that are now CFOs of other companies. I'm going to call them. And so you don't have to have all of those skill sets. I don't think you don't have to have everything all figured out as long as you're continuing to learn along the way. I was very scared when I took this leap and went to join the Titans, and it has been an extremely fun ride ever since. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity of what the Titans have given to me, and getting to give back and talk to folks like you, and be that ripple effect of when I was in your shoes, I would have never guessed that I would have been a CFO of the Titans. There's no shot that that would have ever crossed my mind. So not limiting yourself to what you can become. Every year, you're just continuously trying to learn, trying to gain more skills, trying to grow, because you never know where you could be 10, 15, 20 years from now. So making sure that you're finding those mentors, those people that you admire, those people that you never know where they're going to be when you continue to grow. You're diversifying your portfolio. You're diversifying your resume. You're continuing to sharpen those skills, and then the networking piece of it. That you're networking along the way. That you never know where the rest of these relationships could be your next job to here now become the CFO of the Tennessee Titans. So that was those. I wanted to open this up to Q&A because I think it's always fun just to see what is relevant to you all and what I could help you with. But that's a little bit more about me and about my role and how I got here, and some life lessons that I want you all to take.